Baby audio, baby audio, ra ba ba da ba ba, ra ba 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 ra. We're going to be looking at Baby Audio's Humanoid. It is a tuning plugin. It's a bit different than a vocoder. It uses an FFT to determine the output, and it does this by taking the incoming signal, splits it up with an FFT, and takes those and creates a bunch of grains of audio and stitches them together to create the output. And this lets you go from a voice to essentially a wavetable. So we could really smoothly go to a waveform. That's what this transform thing here in the middle is. For example, transform. It sounds like it's talking, saw wave. At the end, it's just a saw wave, right? And you're able to mix between these essentially. So it's different than other things. It's not a set of filter banks like you would assume it is. Instead, there's an analysis process that happens in the middle that lets you do this sort of changing from the voice to a synthesized output. So in this video, we're going to be making a recording, and then we're going to write the notes for that recording. And then in the others, we're going to get further into the engine and essentially make this recording into a really cool part. I'm a big fan of Infected Mushroom. I've loved them for ages. I like running, and they're great to run to. So we're going to be recording a part kind of like the vocals they like to do. They do a lot of, it's not scat, but scat's the closest thing I can think of. It's like ba 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 da ba 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 ba, stuff like that. And then if you combine that with this, which in real time is a bit harder to do because there's a bit of a delay. And you do things. You add cool chords to it, basically. So let's talk first about the setup. So you're going to need to send your voice into Humanoid. That's what I have here. My input one is my voice. Humanoid's right here. And then Humanoid is listening to a Midi port. So you have this scale option, and the scale will snap to a value, kind of like an auto tune. Oh, let's pick a scale. Minor. Oh, yeah. Then you have your note option. You can go up or down a note or even an octave. You can have 2 notes if you really want to. And then there's your MIDI option. The MIDI option allows you to play notes via a MIDI keyboard, and then it, takes those notes and makes this thing. So obviously that's the one I want. I think there's like a limit of like 4 notes. If you toss more than that at it, I'm not sure if it can handle it. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So as I added notes there, you could hear it stopped adding the notes. So there's a limit. It's like, I think it's 4, it might be 5, somewhere in that neighborhood. So let's go ahead and record in the part. Now, when I'm recording, I don't actually like to run it through in real time. What I'm doing right now is actually a little bit tricky. I've minimized the delay. So in order to do this, first you need to take your sound card and set its buffer size to the smallest it'll let you go. This allows you to process audio a lot faster, but it's harder on your computer processing wise because it has to do it faster. The other thing is I'm going to unrecord arm it, and I'm doing that so I can click this button. There's an audio buffer button right here, and I have it on low. If you set it to high, there'll be a much bigger delay between the two things. Again, with that trade-off of speed versus performance. So it's going to be a lot faster, but it's going to be a lot harder on the performance of your computer. So if you're doing stuff in real time, this is the way you kind of want to do it, and you're definitely going to want to bring this down to L. So that's what's going on. Because of this, though, I'm going to record it just separate. I find that I just do better, especially if I can't hear it in my own headphones and things. So I'm going to take insert 2. First, I'm going to take this one and turn it off. So my voice is no longer through there. Now on insert 1, I'm going to add it. We're going to hit yes. It's going to say okay. There it is. I'm going to take it off the master because I don't want to hear myself. It's going to drive me crazy. And it is already record armed. So when I hit this, it's going to record. Let's pick a good tempo. Whoops, tried grabbing the wrong thing here. Let's hit a good tempo. Turn on the metronome here and just hear it. You know, probably go a bit faster, maybe like 142. Why not? Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna give myself just like a measure or two in, and then I'm gonna record a line. Okay, so that's our line. That's what we're going to be rolling with. Let's go ahead, let's close this here for a second. And let's set up Humanoid from the beginning so you can kind of see how this process is. So I'm going to take it off there. And my recording's living here. I'm going to take the recording off here. We don't need it anymore. And now on insert one, I'm going to set all this up. So first off, we have our vocal. This is it. I give myself some time at the beginning so it's easier to line up. And I know that I start on the beat. So I'm going to take this, bring it on in, and I'm going to normalize it right off the gate, right out the bat. I'm going to name this, I don't know, main Vox. And I'll color it this turquoise color. I like this color for this. All right, so actually, let's get rid of this so that we're starting right from the very beginning. So here we go. We've got our main vocal. I'm going to hit Control L. That sends it to the mixer and gives it a spot in the mixer. So that's what it has here. And I'm going to change the track to be a track mode audio main Vox so that everything is like connected. Next, we need to add a Midi plugin. So I'm going to choose Midi out. I'm going to set it to port 3, and that's all you have to do there. Let's name it Humanoid Midi. And we'll give it the same color here as the others. And I like to put it above. I don't know. It just makes more sense to me. I'm going to right click this and hit A. This is going to assign it to a new instrument track and basically line a bunch of stuff up for us. And then I'm going to group this track with this one just because, you know, they go together. So why not? I'm going to get rid of all this extra dead space. We don't need that. And I'm going to scoot this forward. It looks like I started a little bit before the beat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, hit Control T. Right click this and make this the start. So it knows that this is measure 1 and also like the background shading matches the phrase now. You see how that lines up? So that's why you want to do that. It's just nice to do things that way. Okay, so I'm going to move this to the front. So this is going to be sort of our main deal. And right now, you know, let's just hear how this sounds. How on beat am I? Am I off by 1? I don't know, right here. There we go. That's more correct. So got it aligned. We're good to go now. So let's go ahead and add Humanoid. So it is in my main list right now. Humanoid. I always go with the VST3 version these days. It's very stable, VST3. So let's set it to MIDI. Let's go to our cog, go into our other cog, go to settings, and change the input port to port 3. So this is different in each stop. That's how you do it in FL. Go to the cog settings, input port 3, because we picked our MIDI port to be port 3. So now when I play notes, I should be able to control my voice here. Yeah, so that's what's going on. There are a couple settings you should be aware of down here in the utility area when you're doing this. There's a de-esser built right in to get rid of sibilants. I actually find I don't need to turn it on all that much. It's already pretty good, the recording setup I have. So I'm not going to worry about this too much. But there is a gate setting. This is how loud the voice needs to be for it to trigger this to go through and be, capable of synthesis. So if this is up too high, you're going to have to be screaming real loud. So I'm playing notes. Turn this off. I'm playing notes. You can see them showing up here. Nothing. And here, I'll hold down some and I'll move it. So that's the gate. So just so you're aware, this is, I think by default at like 40. And then smoothing, if you turn smoothing on,
especially with something like this, you'll get a lot of these almost portamento style things going on. It probably does other things as well. I tend to leave smoothing all the way off for that reason, unless I'm doing like a monophonic thing, and it makes more sense to have that on. So that's what we have going on now. Let's actually record some parts and let's optimize this for sort of the sound I like. So I'm going to be using the saw wave as our synthesizer here. I find it does really good. There's some other ones that are pretty interesting. I'm going to turn Robotify all the way up. There are some extra settings in here, like how much it flattens, the pitch correction, that kind of stuff. I like the default. It is good. And then everything else is fine. We might turn up the widen. It just gives us the stereo width. It's always kind of nice to have that. So now that we have this, we are ready to record in some notes. So I am going to, when I play notes, I need to make sure I'm on the Midi for my playback, right? If I'm on the voice, it's going to try playing a bunch of copies of my voice as like a sampler. So you need to be on the Midi because that's what sends the information to the humanoid. I also know that we have channels that can get rid of these like extra ones that are not there for any reason. And let's just try out a few different things. If we play something cool, there's a score grab feature we can use. So let's just have it. I like to have the metronome on when I'm playing. It just helps me keep in time. There you go. That was actually pretty good. Now, obviously, I like to play it in. You may prefer to do the other thing, but we go up to tools and there is a score grab. It might be underneath options. It's right here. Dump score log. We'll grab the last 2 minutes and it just grabs all that playback we just did. And it looks like this was the section I was playing. Got kind of crazy with the low end here. So these are the notes. You see, generally 4 notes works out pretty good. And I think they have a thing that gets rid of octaves because I play a lot of octaves and it just kind of ignores them. This time I didn't, but I've noticed in other playing that it tends to go that way. Let's see if I can line this up. I believe this is it. I usually have notes already held down before the first one comes up because I tend to play or sing just before. So it sounds like this. So this part right here, I did sort of on purpose because I thought it'd be cool if we had the performance move there. But you could go and you can re-record and come up with a cooler part there. It was just improv, right? So that is our starting point. Hopefully at this point, you now have a vocal, you know how to get the tuning effects going, and we have the start of potentially what is going to be an intro that we could then, start working on to turn into a track. So in the next videos, we're going to be going into the actual using of the engine to create interesting moments in the track. If you have any questions about this process, feel free to let me know, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for future videos, and have a blessed day.